never gonna make it. You're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible. It's not probable. You're irresponsible. Too many obstacles. You gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow. You can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move. I'm gonna make it soon, and I'll do it cause it's what I wanna do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions. They blocking your vision, but no, you can't listen. That shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're driven.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Oh, will you fight?
Hello and welcome to Game Day from the UK, another Miami Heat UK live pre-game streaming show here tonight to preview the game against the Los Angeles Lakers. Here to introduce the cast, as always, my stream team with me, Ollie Rahimi, Glenn Smith, Bilal Monar. Ollie, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you.
Good stuff. Glenn, you look a little bit warmer tonight.
Just a bit, mate. Just a bit under the weather, but warmer at least. So that's something.
Well, thank you for joining us under the weather, mate. Much appreciated.
It's all good.
Bilal Monar, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well.
Good stuff. Guys, this is the same team that we had together for our last podcast episode. Fantastic episode there was too. If you didn't catch it and you're listening, go and check out Heating Up the UK episode 68. We released it the other day. It was loads of fun. We had loads of reaction to it. Lots of people seemed to enjoy it. We certainly enjoyed it. Please go and enjoy 45 minutes of great Heat chat there. It was great fun. But tonight, boys, we will be previewing the Lakers game. But of course, let's first reflect on the last game out, as we always do. A tough loss against Atlanta. Maybe not overly surprising. I think we may have be expected to win it, but Atlanta with a little bit of a turn in form recently. They've won 2 games quite convincingly, including against the reigning champions Milwaukee Bucks last time out. So it was always going to be a tough one in their arena, but Twitter went into a little bit of a meltdown, Ollie, because of the way it was lost. Jimmy Butler fadeaway freeze to try and win the game is never the one you really want it to be to finish after such a gallant sort of comeback. That's not the sort of play that it was supposed to be, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think so. I'll admit I was in that bracket that was maybe sort of not anti. I'm never anti Jimmy, but yeah, I'm with you. It wasn't the right play, and it seems like on quite a few occasions this year, Jimmy's taken a 3 to try and to win us a game. And of all of our options on the court at any given time, that's probably one of the last resorts. Really, his 3-point shooting over the last couple of years has been poor, especially this year. So yeah, it was a bit of an odd decision. Whether that was from him or Spo, I don't really know. Duncan and Bam did a really good job to get us so close. So I would have been quite happy with either of those guys taking the last shot because they had the hot hand basically. So yeah, a bit of a hard one to take, but I think beating Atlanta 3 times in 10 days, it was always going to be difficult. They were going to have a reaction in one of the games, so I think, like you said, not too difficult to take, but just the way it went down was a bit annoying.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a disgraceful loss by any means. You're not going to win every game. We know that as much as Heat Twitter, or maybe not Heat Twitter, just Heat social media in general expects us to. Bilal, we've seen Spo always trust his leader. We saw it with Wade in his old day, on his second comeback, especially that perhaps that explosive production wasn't there, but the ball was always in his hands during the clutch moments, during the last possessions. And that's the same with Jimmy. We saw it a bit with Goran Dragic as well. He always trusts his leader to make the decision of what he does, whether he's going to take that last shot himself or involve somebody else. But do you think that level of trust is correct? Should that always be the case? Or should maybe he look at putting the ball in the hands of that person that's going to get you that bucket? For example, I know he wasn't on the court, but maybe Tyler Hero, the way forward, Mr. Fourth Quarter, Mr. Confidence, Mr. Arrogant Swagger, ball in his hands for the last 20 seconds with 1 possession down. Would you moan at that, or would you rather it be in the hands of your leader, i.e. Jimmy Butler, still?
I'll get drawn to that. I do think Tyler does deserve a shot in the clutch, especially if he's going off at that particular night. I do think that he deserves to take the last shot. But Then again, you can't go wrong with going with your leader, as you saw that it was a huge success down Spoelstra's reign with Wade, with Jimmy sometimes. But Tyler Hero has been clutch in his short career, so I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, and I think that it comes down. I'm not, Spo. He will do what he needs to do, and I don't think he's making the wrong decision there in saying, "Okay, Jimmy, there's the ball. You go and make your decision because that's what you're here for. You are our leader. You are our next player, etc." And then it comes down to him because we expect Jimmy to maybe make the decision of trying to drive to the basket, drawing contact. That's what we know that he does. But Tim Reynolds, I think it was, put out the tweet to say that in the last 1 minute of regulation or overtime, 3-point percentage or 3-pointers from Jimmy Butler at the moment
4 of
in his Heat
27.
career, 4 for 27,
Yeah, I
and
saw that. I saw that.
that's the critical thing. That's the critical thing because I've got no problem with Jimmy being told, "Go on and you go and work it out." And draw up a play maybe that might see that. But when it's ending up with a 3-pointer and those are the percentages, man, how many more times do you think something has got to change? So that's the frustrating bit. Jimmy Butler is our best player. He's wonderful. But, people may be getting their feelings a little bit that say that you can still criticise things like that because it's the wrong decision to be made. So a frustrating loss. Let's put it that way. Glenn, another tough one was it was always going to be harder with seeing PJ go out after just 8 minutes when you're already losing Tyler, Kyle, etc. You could have done without that when you're marking or you're trying to guard one of the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah, PJ's always going to be that guy for us, and again to see him drop out of the game so early, especially seeing as we are missing some key guys anyway, is always going to be a real shame. Just to quickly touch back on that Jimmy thing, I think it's the area of his game, almost like LeBron did when, as he kind of aged that little bit extra, LeBron put a lot of effort into his 3-point shot, knowing that he's not going to be able to always do those drives into the basket as he gets a bit older. And I think we've got to see the same thing from Jimmy now as he starts to, I'm happy with the contract he's on. Again, superstar player. I'd love having him on the team. What a guy. But for his future, I think that's something that will be his off-season work on. Always have players pick out individual bits. And I think for Jimmy, that's just the thing he needs to work on as he gets that little bit older. And again, if he's going to have that trust in the clutch, fair play. But 4 for 27, and just generally a poor night for Jimmy. He missed that 2-pointer, which he probably is a sitter for him on a normal day. But again, everyone has bad days.
Yeah, that's it. And for baskets can roll off. This is all part of basketball. Yeah, it was a momentum killer big time. It did feel like at that point that the game was probably lost. But there we go. As you say, a tough loss. And it is a weird one with Jimmy because he used to be, his days in Philly and before, he was awesome from downtown. His percentages have really dropped over since he's come over in Miami. But I mean, that's where we got his sort of nickname from, is Jimmy Buckets. He was a sharp shooter. He was that man. But he will see. Look, no bag on Jimmy. He'll get us over the line in more than one occasions for the rest of the season, I'm sure. On to tonight's game then, guys, against the Lakers. Actually, before we do come on to the Lakers, I wanted to get your opinion on something that's sort of just come out over the last hour. And this is this report about Caleb Martin and how they might be able to negotiate this contract of his that could be due of around 4 years for $44 million. I just want to get your quick thoughts with this. This was a report from Heat Nation, I believe. Everyone's having their comment on it. Split the fan base quite a lot. For me, Ollie, we've all sung his praises hugely and rightly so. But I'm sort of wanting a bit more from a player to than just 3 or 4 months of solid production before I'm handing out 11 million a year contracts. What's your thought?
Yeah, to be honest, this is the first I've heard of that. So yeah, my initial thought is the same. He's been brilliant this season. There's no doubt about that. And I think it was a given that come the end of the season, the Heat would have signed him to a minimum deal, the similar sort of thing that they have done with Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, maybe a 2-year minimum contract. I think that would provide good value. And then after those 2 years is up, if he's then producing that good level, then he can earn probably more than 44 million over 4 years. But I think rightly, as you said, a 4 or 5 month spell of good production for a player that was undrafted and has gone relatively under the radar in the league, despite that good stretch that he's given, I think 4 years, 44 million is quite a commitment at this stage. Yep. And I think he is worth that, and he will be worth that down the line. But I just think that's maybe a bit too much to give him right now.
Yeah, As I said, I'm on that page as well. I think that, I mean, I've been a huge. We all have. We've all been saying how incredible he's been, how much he's, what of an asset he's been, what a surprise he's been. But at the moment, this is still, when 3 or 4 months of production is really just a stretch of good form. That's all it is. So you don't really sort of, you got to allow somebody to be doing this for maybe a couple of years straight before you hand out contracts like that, in my opinion. Having said that, Bilal, before we come on to LA, having said that, um, do you blame role players? And that's what he is. He's a solid role player. Do you blame any role player for going and taking that contract on offer? You can't, can you? That's what they're there for. They may not be in the league for that long. You take the money.
Exactly. You got to protect the bag.
Yep.
Wherever he gets offered that, I wouldn't blame him if he went to get that. I'll be happy for him personally. But relating to your point, I agree with both of you. It's too soon to offer him that contract. We've been in situations where we've offered big money before, and then it's come back to bite us. So I would hold off a bit and probably do what Ollie suggested.
Yeah, completely. And, we've got all the faith in our front office to allow that to happen. We'll see what happens. I just put out a tweet not long ago saying we've got to enjoy this time at the moment where we've got players like Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, all on these nothing contracts at the moment with a very, very, very solid roster built around them, because they're all going to carry on playing this level. They're all going to get some sort of bag at some point. So enjoy it whilst we've got it, that's for sure. Let's get on to LA. Glenn, Anthony Davis is probably going to be back. Of course he is. 16 games straight missed. They've not done too bad, LA. They've had a lot of heat on them, as they always do. They're the most talked about team in the league, so they're always highlighted. But they've gone 7-9 in that stretch against when they've been missing AD. It's not terrible, but that puts them at full strength. They beat us last time out when we played them earlier in the season. In overtime, they beat us 120-117. We was at full strength during that game. AD being on the court transforms them, obviously, incredibly, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it definitely so. I mean, the Lakers have come under a lot of fire this season, especially Russell Westbrook for his contributions. And we saw it for a short stint in the game against the Hawks. I think one of the ways we could possibly deal with Anthony Davis being back tonight is playing a few more minutes of Bam and Yurt on the court at the same time. I wouldn't like to put Bam and Dedmon on the court at the same time. I don't think they mix quite as well. But I think that in terms of the player that he is, the impact he's going to have on the board and in the paint, it might be nice to kind of switch up to that. But yeah, the Lakers in general this year, they receive a lot of flack for the fact that people coming into this year probably would have seen they were one of the bookies' favorites, and people said, "Oh, you need to be slapping us out straight away." But with the roster changes they've had, it's no surprise to me that they're lagging a bit. And LeBron, and never doubt a team that he's on. He's always one of those guys that if they make the play-in seeds, they could end up going winning the championship. So it's never a team to write off. And the fact that they're at full strength should bring us some worries tonight.
Yeah, I think that's really well summed up. I think that I was never massively high on them as we come into the season. A lot of people were saying that they were the team to beat. I wasn't necessarily in agreement with that. They sit at the moment, Ollie, as 0.500, 23 and 23. But their roster has got issues. It's clear that they're defensively not very good. They're offensively not very good, to be honest. They're very average in both sense. But what are your thoughts on them? Do you think that they're really built for a postseason, like Glenn alluded to there, to his point? They're not really going to care massively about where they seed. They don't want to be too low because they don't want to be playing the Suns or Warriors maybe in a first round matchup. But are they a team that's really built for the postseason?
I think so, yeah. I think, Glenn, you kind of summed it up really well. That, yeah, they are. I think they're not going to care really, like where they are. And although they have come under a lot of scrutiny this season, I think it's been justified to an extent, because I think people expected a lot more from them, seeing as they've collected so many all-stars onto this roster now. And the age of the roster as well. They are one of the older teams in the league with Carmelo Anthony's there. Obviously, LeBron's not getting any younger. Russell Westbrook. They've got an older team. So maybe the modern NBA, which is incredibly fast-paced and it's really high intensity, maybe that isn't suiting them very well. But as we all know, like the playoffs is a much slower game, and that sort of half-court game that will definitely suit the likes of Carmelo Anthony and LeBron. So yeah, I think they are built for playoff success, and I'm like you. I think they will do well in the playoffs should they get there, which I'm sure they will. I've liked LeBron playing at center. I think that was a little spark in their season. I think a little bit of hope for them going forward, and I'd like to see that a little bit more because he can play at any position. He's got all the ability in the world. He's one of the greatest ever. So that was quite an interesting little turn in their season. But yeah, I think overall, like you said, they're definitely built for the playoffs more so than the regular season.
Yeah, and strangely, when I look through the stats and a few things here, Bilal, Heat are a slow team, 29th in pace this season. That's always how we've been. It's always how we play. It almost seems like the Spoelstra way. But the Lakers are actually second in pace. So they're playing at I said second in pace against a team that's second from last in pace. That really jumps off the page to me. Russell Westbrook, a big part of that. Perhaps any team that's going to have Russ in their team, he's so explosive. That's just the way he moves. But that was surprising. Is that going to be maybe the key issue here tonight to try and keep that under wraps?
Yeah, definitely. They've got a lot of high flyers. Let's not forget Malik Monk, the Heat
Malik
destroyer.
Monk. Fucking Malik Monk. 27 points against us last game out, by the way, Malik Monk. Is this the last time we play LA? I'm assuming it is. But if it is, thank fuck for that.
I think I saw he's averaging 26 points per game against us in the last couple. So, yeah, they've got a lot of high flyers. Alluding to your point, they are a fast team and we are a slow team. So I do think that could be an issue for us. But I think that should be okay today and we should be able to pull it out.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tight game. It's going to be an interesting game because the Heat obviously missing key players. Obviously, no Oladipo, as we know, no Kyle Lowry, again, personal reasons. Hero still out with protocols. So it's going to be a tough assignment. Before we get onto predictions, final thing from you, Glenn. Jimmy Butler versus LeBron James is always tasty. From obviously, every time we see this matchup now, it goes back to that incredible finals matchup. It's just pure popcorn, them two players, isn't it?
Oh, you couldn't write some of the matchups that we've seen on individual plays and in games in general between those two. It's a pleasure to watch, and one of those things we'll look back in 10 years' time and go, God, to have even experienced that on the telly, it's like it would be different in person, but it's nice to see. I think Jimmy maybe will be kicking himself after his disappointing game out against the Hawks, so hopefully that'll give him a bit of fire up his arse to really go out there and put some numbers up. So yeah, it's going to be a good matchup. It always is. I hope we don't see them anywhere near the playoffs, and something tells me that they're not going to make it that far anyway. But in general, yeah, I love these matchups, and it's a nice, considering it was the 2020-21 season or whatever it ended up being. For the fact that was only like 18, 19 months ago, still crazy to me.
It is crazy, and still one of the most incredible, the most incredible performance in both Game 5 and Game 3, I think it was. To see those Jimmy Butler performances, just outrageous. Gives me absolute hairs standing on my neck every time I think about it. So it's always exciting. Two huge markets coming together. It's always a glamorous tie. Lots of big names on the show. Heat are minus 2.5 on the spread, despite the Lakers probably being at full strength and the Heat being underhand a little bit. 15-5 the Heat are at home. That might have a say in it. Let's get some predictions. Ollie, I'll start with you. What do you think?
I'm quietly confident for this. I know they're full strength. We're obviously missing a few key guys. I don't know what the word is on PJ Tucker. Have you got any idea on that?
I think he's expected to play. I think it's game time decision, but I think he's going to play.
Okay, that's good. I can see it being one of those. It's an undrafted game. I think it's going to be maybe a bit Caleb, Gabe, and Max. I reckon they'll come through. We'll have a bit of fire. It'll be at home in the FTX, and it'll be bouncing. I think, yeah, I'm confident. I think Heat by a couple, maybe 3 or 4.
Yep, good stuff. Yeah, it'd be great. I'll tell you what, it'd be really good if our undrafted stars that have been so great come good against the Lakers, because obviously all eyes are always on the Lakers. There's much more media coverage, and maybe they'll get a bit of recognition if all 3 of those can carry on their form and bounce along and have a productive night. It'll be good for them. Bilal, what do you think?
I'm going Heat win. I'm thinking Jimmy Butler gets back to himself and he goes off tonight. We haven't seen it for a couple of games now, so I think it's a Jimmy Butler game tonight, and I say Heat by 6.
Heat by 6, Jimmy Butler game. Yeah, maybe Jimmy's been reading. I mean, maybe not, but maybe Jimmy's been listening to some of the noise recently. So that might be a bit of fire in his belly. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Jimmy's going to have a big say tonight. Come up fired up. Glenn, what do you think, my man?
Yeah, speaking of things Jimmy's been listening to, I hope he's been blaring out that country music, getting himself in the zone, ready to go tonight. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see close to a triple double from Jimmy tonight. I think he's really going to try and put the effort on, especially on the board and the assist end of things. So I think Heat by 5 or 6, hopefully.
Mate, I've just realised that Jimmy Butler and LeBron James are tied on Heat history for triple doubles on 9. What a perfect night!
Written in the stars. Isn't it?
What a perfect night for Jimmy Butler, with already a pissed off Jimmy Butler from everybody who's been slagging him off on the timelines recently, to come in and put down a triple double on LeBron James tonight to take over his record in Heat history. I'm with you. Let's go with that. That's a great way to finish. Heat will win tonight by 5, I'm going to say. Tight game, good game, and 11 p.m. tip-off, guys, as well, which is good news for us. Follow us at the Miami Heat UK TV. At the Miami Heat UK. Subscribe to Miami Heat UK TV. We'll be there in-game comms as always. We've swept it tonight. It's going to be a good one. Heat are going to win. Of course, they're going to win. 4 games on the road now. This starts off. Let's start it off on a good track. Enjoy the game, guys. We'll catch up soon.